I always ask myself when I look at this particular picture. This is from a history archive at Tadius magazine. His Imperial Majesty at the railway station when he visited America. And here he greets the First Lady, and he bows his head almost as though he knows what would happen roughly 50 days later. Now, some would say, "Oh, Haile Selassie, he was down with the New World Order," and they think that you're stupid, right? They think that you are utterly foolish. They think that you would just believe any lie, right, that you was told. And unfortunately, most people do, right? If the media puts a spin on it, most people do. I mean, see how many people believe the famine false flag and that His Majesty a tyrant and this and that. And they didn't recognize why His Majesty was such an enemy to the New World Order and how he was such an opposer of the New World Order. Well, today, May 5th, 2013, is what was it, 1941. If you do 60, that'll be 70, about 73 years ago. 73 years ago, the victory of blameless Ethiopia, of holy Ethiopia, of the Ethiopia of Haile Selassie I, against the crucifiers, the people who crucified Christ, or Rome, fascism, fascist Benito Mussolini. Now, at the railway station, Kennedy says some very interesting things. If you can find a clear and a complete version of there's a video and there's an audio. We touch on the video and edit it a little bit, but if you can find the unedited portion and really listen carefully, or even a transcript of what Kennedy says. When I first heard that, I said, whoa, that is almost like reason one, right, to kill Kennedy. I mean, how can Kennedy say this about some African king, right, or some African? You know, what he's really saying that His Majesty truly is proving himself to be a messianic figure who has all of the background, the history, right? He has all the background and history in his favor. That's one thing that we have to recognize. He has that background and history. When we're speaking about the tribe of Judah, when we're speaking about the black Jews, when we're speaking about, are ye not as the children of the Ethiopians unto me, O children of Israel, all the connection, the fascist invasion of Ethiopia by Mussolini, the people who crucified Christ, what was going on in the world at that time. But I think the key thing, the key evidence, right? The key evidence, right? The key evidence is what His Imperial Majesty, right, said, right? The speech that he gave May 5th, and here's His Imperial Majesty at Kennedy's funeral, and they killed Kennedy because of his testimony to His Imperial Majesty and because of what he had learned from His Imperial Majesty. In other words, His Imperial Majesty basically schooled Kennedy. Kennedy was schooled, right? He was really schooled, and he began to recognize what this whole world order and system and the whole good over evil is all about. And unfortunately, right, sadly, that cost Kennedy his very life because he testified to the stone which the builders, the masons, the globalists refused. He bore witness. And the railway station speech, this speech right here, right, this speech right here. And if you're perceptive, brethren and sister, and if you're perceptive, when you see His Majesty begins to speak, you could almost feel what we call the pathos. You know, when somebody knows like something before it even happens. I mean, this is basically the legacy of His Imperial Majesty when we really recognize how his warning to the Europeans at the time of the fascist invasion was unheeded, right? Because remember what the white man, the European, the racist, right, and the Antichrist said in America, that black men don't have no rights, that white man is obligated to to recognize, right? And that was also on the international level of what was going on. But at the railway station speech is one evidence, and when you get to check out the Independence Day speech, what His Majesty says about the godless and the cruel dragon has newly risen its head, it's very clear that he knew what was going on the spiritual and the so-called real-to-real level of what was going on at that time, and he was an opposer to it. Remember how the Bible says that until that one be taken out of the way, that a particular one had to be taken out of the way. Ethiopia, in a sense, had to be taken out of the way. And when you see what's going on now among Ethiopians at home and abroad, and black people at home and abroad, in the real global world scene, and you know any real history. You see, most folks don't know any real history. So when they say lies against His Imperial Majesty, they just believe it. Right? But then the same things, the same enemies against the King of Kings, the same enemies against them.